What is up, Unity community? Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for being here for another official Unity live stream at twitch.tv/Unity, as well as the official Unity YouTube channel. My name is Jackson. I am one of your senior community managers here, responsible for all of your live stream content, and I'm grateful to have each and every one of you here today. It is, of course, a Unity Thursday. We're doing another creator spotlight today, and we are speaking to the very talented, the very passionate team behind a little game called Songs of Silence. Chimera Entertainment is here with us today, and they have brought the heat. This team has come in eager to talk to you all, and they want to showcase the work that they are doing. I know with creator spotlights, sometimes we get into a long conversation, and hopefully you find inspiration in that, but this team went above and beyond, went a step further and said, hey, we want to show off some of the inner workings. So let's spend a little more time doing that. So you have a lot to look forward to. If you are watching live on Twitch or YouTube, we want you to be aware that we are paying attention. This is a conversation that we want to have with all of you. So if you are on Twitch like Bear Hug, like Sin, like we've got Jelangtree, and I don't know, we're paying attention to you guys. But if you're over on the YouTube side, like Pyro, like Bob Lee is, like A. James are, you guys have very important responsibilities because you need to stay active in the chat. If you have questions for this wonderful team, ask them. I want to connect you to them. I want to relay those questions. If you see something you like, let us know. This is a conversation. We are not talking at you. We are speaking with you. So again, thank you all so much for being here. If you are watching this after the fact as a VOD, we have chaptered the bar along the bottom so you can skip directly to the parts that appeal to you most. But again, thank you all for being here in whatever capacity you are. What I would love to hear from you in the chat before we get the ball rolling is this your first Unity stream? Yes or no? Very simple. Yes or no? Have you been to a Unity stream in the past? But that's not the question. The question is this your first one? Again, my name is Jackson, and I am responsible for bringing you live stream content each and every week. We've been doing Thursdays at 9 a.m. Pacific time for a while now. I would love to keep that going. We will continue to have conversations about whether or not you guys are connecting with the content. If there's other things you would like to see more of, would you like to be learning more? Would you like to be connecting with more people on the Unity side, more creator spotlights, whatever that is. So we will continue that dance and that dialogue, because that's what I want these streams to be. We want it to be for everybody. We've got a few first timers here. We've got Dies Horribly. Welcome on in. Bob Lee, as well as Quentin Coulette, I hope. Bull, I know it's not yours, but welcome and thank you for being here. Skydriver on the Twitch side, hello. Jelangtree calling out. Nope, love hearing about creators, which is super duper fun. Again, thank you to everybody for being here. First time, second time, 100th time. We are grateful to bring the Unity community together once a week for these streams. So what can you expect? We're going to chat with Chimera Entertainment, getting to know them and the team a little bit more before we then talk about the game design of Songs of Silence. And I'm not kidding, this game is stunning. You will want to stick around because later they will be opening up Unity and showing their animation, VFX, and battle editor pipelines, which will be very, very cool. And they've worked very hard to pull together, not just like, hey, here's what it is, but like a genuine presentation. This team's working for it. So it's pretty awesome. And then after that, we've got another in-engine moment where we're going to step through some of the strategy game AI. So not using AI to develop games, as I erroneously thought when we were setting everything up. But the team was kind enough to remind me that that's not what we're doing. We're talking about building AI for NPC squads and that type of thing. So hopefully you guys will feel inspired by the conversations with this team and learn a little bit something specific about Unity and the tools that they are using. So again, so very grateful to be here with each and every one of you. We will bring in the team from Chimera Entertainment in just a moment, but I want to let you all know that Songs of Silence is a next generation turn-based strategy game. It features a unique mix of kingdom and army management, hero development, and real-time combat. Released on PC and consoles November 13th, 2024, this is Songs of Silence.
As gods clash, the earth trembles. This fleeting balance between light and darkness, it could never hold. We were doomed. destined to fall to the silence. Yet together, light and darkness will pierce through its veil.
Rebuild the city at once.
True heroes climb the abyss.
For Arenberg!
Lead armies with virtue.
Surrender at once!
Show unwavering resolve. As they stand tall and defy the apocalypse.
Your hymn must be returned!
I will take command of the city.
May your deeds be forged into a song that will shatter the silence.
This is our final test.
May your hymn echo across the worlds.
Hello, everybody. We are back now. We are joined by Alex, Hayato, and Marcus. Welcome on in. Team Chimera, how's everybody doing today?
Hello. Thanks for having us. We're doing great. Thank you.
Of course. Hayato, Marcus?
Hello. See you.
Good.
Nice
Great
to
to
meet
have
you
you.
all.
Good. Absolutely. No, we've got a couple of people already. I know that the Chimera team was telling me, we don't do a ton of live streams. We're maybe a little nervous. And I want you to be aware that already in the chat, we've got people saying a fantastic art style. Chimera is a great dev team. Very cool mechanics. So already people, just loving what you're doing. So I hope that brings you some calm as we step in here. But one of the most awesome things that I get to do with this type of content, these types of live streams, is to essentially connect people with you and allow everybody to get to know you a little bit. So I'd like to know, who are you? What do you do with Chimera? Because I know that we have titles, but at the same time, people tend to wear a lot of hats in indie game dev. So what is it that you're responsible for? And if you can, what is your favorite game of all time? I know it's not an easy question, but Alex, if you want to get things started, we'll send it over to you.
Okay, for sure. So I'm Alex, creative director at Chimera, like it says in the title card, I guess. I'm one of the co-founders of Chimera. So we have been in business for about 18 years now, I think. So has been a long time. And normally I'm in the visionary guy, like the vision keeper for our games and the game designer for our different projects. That's what I do. The favorite game of all time, I think, would be Mother 2. That's Earthbound for all people in the West. It's an old school JRPG. I really love the vibe of this game.
Very cool. Also, to maybe make it relatable to people who are unaware, in Smash Brothers, your Ness and your Lucas characters, that's where they come from. Because when I was young, playing those Smash Bros games, I was like, who are these coiffed-haired individuals? Only to find out that, Mother and Earthbound is where that's all about. Hayato and Marcus, you guys are in the same room. So I'll just pass the ball to the room, and you guys can decide who wants to go first on this one.
You're the first.
Perfect.
Right. Yeah. Hello, my name is Hayato. I'm one of the engineers at Chimera. Been here, I think, already 4 years or so. And I'm responsible mainly for the AI part in Songs of Silence. So in the battle, the AI, how the units are moving, but also on the strategy map, I was responsible for the AI. And I think the favorite game is maybe Zelda Ocarina of Time, the good old game on the N64.
Yeah, that's a good pick. It's the games that bring us all together. It's always interesting. There's millions of games. That's exaggerative, but there's so many games in the world. But just as gamers, I feel like if someone mentions a game, almost everybody is like, oh yeah, of course. We've got June V in our Twitch chat saying Ocarina of Time, always amazing. It's games that pull us all together. I'm so fortunate that we work in this industry. Marcus, what about you?
Hello, I'm Marcus. So great to be here. I'm senior technical artist at Chimera Entertainment. I started here 16 years ago, so I'm also very long in the company. I started actually as an art intern, so I'm really in the company, climbed up the ladder. When I started, there was nothing like a tech artist. It wasn't really a concept yet, but I always was more interested in integrating stuff more than creating it, actually more like using the assets, making something out of it. So I kind of naturally grew into being a tech artist, and that's what I do now for the most time here. So I help the artists do their job. I integrate assets into the game. I make them shine into the game. I make setups in the game, do animations in the game, UI setups, visual effects, all those shiny things. I really love, game direction. So just making the game flow and feel good. That's what I really love.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting. It's conversations that we've had in the past, and we've had whole streams dedicated to how do you join and grow in the games industry. So everyone's journey is a little bit different. So hearing that you joined in at one point and then work and develop from within and learned and grew in that time is always it's an interesting journey to hear about everybody. So you guys are coming off of Marcus, go ahead.
Favorite game. You cannot miss it.
I skipped you. This is important stuff. This is important stuff, Marcus. Go ahead. I apologize.
So my favorite game, there are many, but if I need to pick one now, I would say Journey, because that's what it is, right? It's such and it also is perfect for me now, because I said, I'm so much interested in how a game direction works, how it makes you feel and flow, and Journey is just perfect for it. It's such a great condensed 90-minute experience. It's amazing.
That's awesome. And I'm going to spend a long time ruminating on how I cut you off before we let you get to the most important part of the stream. So I just want you to know I'm going to carry that weight forever. You guys are coming in pretty hot off of a big release, a big milestone. Songs of Silence came out less than 2 weeks ago, and it's available on Steam. It's available on consoles. It's a big deal. You guys have been working on this for a long time. How are you guys feeling about this? I can only imagine the roller coaster ride of the last little while here. We've got Bob Lee calling out that I'll play the demo. People have been working on the demo. People have been working through early access, that sort of stuff. But again, how are you feeling in this moment, knowing that you had this big milestone a couple weeks ago?
Excited, obviously. We are super happy, very exhausted as well, as everybody can attest to who has worked in gaming. This is a very exhaustive journey. Sorry for this. Yeah, but the game is doing good, better than we expected right now, so we are super happy. There's a lot of stuff we have to work on, obviously, but right now we just, after a little bit of a rocky early access, we just wanted to get this out the door finally after 5 years of hard work, and now we are just happy that this thing can actually hit the ground running and didn't stumble immediately.
Yeah, that's awesome. And congratulations again, you guys. Like, this is huge. Hayato, Marcus, how are you guys feeling over there?
Oh, very much the same. I can only, add to that. Yeah, in the same way that it's a big, it's super exciting times right now, but it's also a big relief. It was a long development. It was for a long time our first own game, that really started from scratch, kind of self-publishing it again. Lots to learn, lots to challenges to overcome, but it was quite a big journey, and now finally it's out there, which is really great, because not every game always makes it to release, and you always hate it when it just isn't out there. I mean, a game really just in the end then really counts. I mean, you learn a lot on every game, but if it's out there, that's the best part, right? If it can be experienced, so that's just great.
Yeah, I think I can say the same. And for me, it's even the first game that I released. So it's the first time I have it out there and can actually see how people interact with the game, read the reviews. So it's a very special experience for me. Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations. I know that they say you never forget your first, but I know we had the team from Void Crew, Hootly Hoot Games, on last week, and I remember interacting with that team and then going to LinkedIn after and seeing that one of our two guests was in the same boat, and they had posted saying, "This means so much to me. This is the first game that I've worked on, and I've worked on it for years, so to see it live is such a unique and special experience." So congratulations to you all across the board, but again, being your first one, Hayato, that's awesome. big extra congrats to you. And we're seeing some of those congratulations in chat here as well. Again,
Thank you.
of course, chat, you guys are a part of this conversation. If you guys have questions for the team as we get going here, please let us know. I do want to talk to you guys about kind of a little bit of the history of Chimera, sort of, in a way, because you guys have released, it seems like 25 games in the first 15 years is what I saw kind of poking through the website a little bit. Team's got about 80 employees, and I'm sure that number fluctuates, especially as you kind of bulk up to release a game, and those numbers are a little bit dated. But that number of games in that short period of time, 15 games in the games industry is a long time, but 25 games in 15 years is very impressive. What has been the key to success in releasing that many games and kind of moving with that agility in terms of your dev cycles?
Okay, maybe I can answer this question. First of all, the information might be a bit outdated. I think we are nearly 18 years in business by now, so a little bit longer. Well, obviously, we are very passionate about games. We always thought that we want to make innovative games, in a way, like creating good games first. We are not in here for the money, but really to create passionate games. And I think we were very flexible. If you checked our website, we have released a lot of very different games in the past, from puzzle games to jump runs to MMO type of social games to serious games, a lot of RPGs and strategy. That's where we came from. Our very first game was an RPG strategy hybrid called Wind Chaser a long time ago, 16 years ago or so. And yeah, finally we are back here. And I think this flexibility to adapt to the ever-changing market, to answer on different RFPs. We cannot choose all the projects you want to do. We have to answer RFPs, like requests for proposals sometimes, do work for hire as well. But since we are very flexible, and I think we did good quality games in the past, we could shift to different types of games on demand. And, this kept us in business and afloat until now. And yeah, like Hayato Max already said, like, this is a very special game right now. Songs of Silence is the very first own IP game we developed with our own means, like no publisher involved. So we're still an independent studio, and you have to kind of figure this out. So it took a long time in preparation until we finally got a shot at doing our very own thing. Yeah.
And you mentioned you guys have worked with so many like really big name IP. You guys have worked with a game or created games for XCOM, Shadow and Bone, and Angry Birds, to kind of name a few here. Songs of Silence, you've created your own IP, like you said, a little bit back to the grassroots of where you guys started with strategy. And this game has a really unique blend of genre, of style, of everything. It's so unique. I'm so curious to dive a little bit more, but what has been like the main difference in just the development process with Songs of Silence when you compare it to kind of the licensed game? How has the experience really changed?
So the biggest thing, obviously, and this was very important to us for this special game, is that we retain ownership, especially creative ownership. It's a huge difference in working alone, like on our own, or with a publisher. There's always somebody involved in all the important discussions. You have to align on every decision, and very often the decisions are made outside of our sphere of influence, basically, and sometimes not to what we would like to do. And this is the biggest thing. We wanted to get back a little bit more of this agency we felt in our very early games, where we could really do the things how we think they're done right. We didn't do everything right, like for this game for sure, but in the end, like, we are still super proud of what we achieved. But in the previous years, we did a lot of work for hire for really cool partners. Like, it was fun, but some of our games also got canceled then during pre-production, not pre-production, during early access even. The game was ready and done, people appreciated it, and it was just canceled due to some change in strategy somewhere on the other end of the world, or some some kind of goals they met or didn't meet. So this is something we wanted to get out of. That's the big difference. Right now, when we are making mistakes, they are our own mistakes. That's a big difference.
Yeah, I feel like nothing is more frustrating in the games industry than having things impact your work that are completely outside of your team's control.
Oh, yeah.
Working as a community manager in the industry for a couple of years, seeing that impact, and as a community manager, I'm not the one doing the work. I'm the one communicating the work. So working with teams that are like, well, all of this stuff that I've worked really hard on is gone now for things that we could not have. It was good. It's not that it wasn't. It was choices outside of our realm. So I respect that you guys wanted to kind of dig in and have full agency over the work that you're doing. And, you know, people seem to like it. Hayato, Marcus, anything to add on this one?
Yeah, I can also only say that it's really good if you're not dependent on some decisions anymore that you can't really control. Like that was a big relief on a lot of things. But then also you are on your own again, right? So that was also interesting. Like, you know, everything we decide now, and we can decide it, but it's also all on us now suddenly. So that was definitely also interesting because I know on the one hand, yeah, if you work with a partner, publisher, and so on, they take away some, maybe sometimes some creative control, right? And sometimes they make some decisions, some videos where I think like, nah, does it need to be like this? But there also this kind of, you know, comfy extra layer, like this net beneath you. Like also sometimes they make some high-level critical decision for you. You know, you don't need to care about that, but now suddenly you have to do it. So yeah, it has its pros and cons, right?
Yeah, balancing the freedom against the potential support that you're now stepping away from. I think the indie spirit in the game development sphere is strong for a reason, because I think there needs to be a level of perseverance for so many devs making those choices. I do want to take a second here and bring in the game's description from your website, because I've said it a couple of times, just the unique combination of elements, the unique combination of genre tags. So the description reads: a story-rich 4X strategy game with fast-paced campaigns, dynamic battles, and stunning art nouveau. Visuals, probably said it wrong, but we're going to roll past it as if I didn't. Manage your kingdom and command armies as you explore a world torn by conflict and sundered into realms of light and darkness. Now, that's a lot. Was this always the vision for the game that you initially set out to create? Was this what you put on the board to begin on day one, or did it change over time and really grow and develop?
Well, it sounded a bit different, less marketing, I would say, but sure. Yeah, it was very similar to this one. This project started a little bit different to a lot of the other projects we did in the past. We really spent a lot of time of a year to just build a very thorough vision or game design 1.0 for this game, including hundreds of mock-ups and so on. Like really, before we even stepped in and tried to sell the game internally, so that everybody internally is on board. Hey, that's actually a cool game vision we can get behind, and that's what we want to do. So, yeah, this was very fleshed out. And if we look at this very old design document now, like we stepped over in the Confluence later for production, right? But the first one was just like a really nice Google Slides presentation with a couple of hundred pages. And there are a ton of mockups in there, which look very, very similar to the finished product. So yeah, this is exactly what we wanted to do. Some things changed along the way, for sure. Some things got cut, some things got added, but all in all, I would say the game is very recognizable from its black and white document from 5.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm. It's always interesting to see. I've heard this concept in game design that if it works on paper, it'll work as a video game, which is always cool to see, like the comparison of your original document, more or less, right? We're speaking in generality. Is obviously not 100% of the time, but I think just seeing how things develop and grow and evolve over time is always a very interesting conversation here. I want to pull in a question because it's very topical to what we're talking about. The Bull on YouTube wants to ask, what are some things you wanted in the game that got cut? It's always interesting to see what ends up on the cutting room floor, even if it's, you know, very specific elements or gameplay things or an additional campaign story. What were some things that you guys wish you could circle back and add in?
So let me a couple of different examples. On the one hand, it's very easy. Some content got cut. That's obvious. Like this happens to every game, I guess. Like we had more factions fleshed out, more units, more everything. Not a big deal, really. And on the other hand, we had some more features which were cut. For example, we had the idea of decrees, I think they were called. So you could guide your city development a little bit more in depth in the original vision. This was, you know, cut back and streamlined a little bit more. during the process. And I think and the other big thing is this was not more. It was more changed than cut, but the original vision for the game was that every map you play is fully randomized, and there are stories you can experience and characters you can unlock, but their stories develop on those randomized maps. Whenever you play again with the hero, their story would advance at a couple of points, which are randomly placed in the scenario, and there would be like a tapestry, like a big artwork slowly filling in for each hero. We changed this to a more, I would say, classic campaign setup during development because we just thought like we are trying to change so many things already in the established formula, are trying to be innovative here. Like let's not go too far and make some things a bit more acceptable by from the community maybe. So yeah, but those were I think 3 big things which were changed.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I know that answering the YouTube and Twitch chats questions comes with a level of ability to adapt on the fly because it's not in our initial conversation that we have ahead of time. So thank you for doing that. Bringing in another one, maybe to challenge you even further, hopefully easier on this time. But Bob Lee wants to say, where did the developers get the idea? So it's always interesting to me, I'll springboard off of Bob there as well, that inspiration. You mentioned that, strategy games were where you guys maybe started or where you were early in the studio's history. Are there other games that stand out as inspiration, or was this largely spurred on from tapping into your roots?
I think a little bit of both, really. In the end, we talked about it after years and years of work for hire and really cool games. We really wanted to make something which is really back in our comfort zone, something we really truly would like to play ourselves, really. And then the other thing is obviously there are a lot of games we took direct inspiration from. A lot of them are a little bit on the older side because I'm a little bit older already, so some people might not even know them. So we had games like Ogre Battle and Kohan and Conquest of Elysium. There are a couple of more niche games. Not a lot of people know them. The Warlord series. We had a big mirror board initially for the vision of the game, and we collected all those inspirations. And then when we presented the game idea to the team, a lot of the team members didn't even know those inspirations. So we really need to dig in and like, hey guys, let's figure out this game. Oh, you cannot even play this anymore nowadays. So let's dig up a video somewhere. And obviously, yeah, the game became something very unique in its own thing. But what we wanted to do is like bring back a couple of those good memories we had for those a little bit more old school strategy games, which flow a little bit more different. They're not so mega in depth. They're focusing more on the overall conquest and the pace of the game, like the Warlord series, for example. And this was something we felt was a little bit lacking in nowadays market. There are a lot of strategy games, or some strategy games. It's not the biggest genre out there, but a lot of them fall into a little bit of repetitive patterns. Like they're very similar to the 3 big formulas, so to speak, most of them. And that's not something we were interested in. We wanted to do something which just feels interesting and different, and hopefully still work. But yeah, that's what we try to do.
I vividly remember, and that was really cool, like when we started in pre-production, we had these sessions where Alex was, showing some of those games he mentioned to the team. And then everybody was like, that looks super interesting. So, but I've never heard of this game. So he's really into bringing up these cool but totally obscure games where he draws his inspiration from. That's why he's our creative director. Like he has a huge library of games, I guess he plays all the time. So that was super interesting in the beginning.
I feel like it's reminiscent of, for me anyways, in my childhood, being like having a friend over and being like, look at this cool game I have. And it's not a game that everyone's aware of. And you feel like you struck gold because you found this game that was so niche, but you connect with it so well, and being able to show it to your friends is super, super fun. So I can totally resonate with that a little bit. Songs of Silence, again, and we're talking about it, the inspiration. It pulls from so many different games, so many different genres. It really, as a result, creates a level of depth that I think the 4X strategy genre that the big fans really crave and connect with. Now, that being said, because of all of the components, the elements, the systems, what's the team's approach to onboarding new players and making sure that they ramp up, but also don't ramp up so quickly that they feel overwhelmed? What's that kind of first time experience strategy like?
Oh, that's a different one. So we are not reinventing the wheel here. So what we did is when we decided to create an actual proper campaign, that we would use the first couple of scenarios to introduce the main features of the game step by step. So we are doing this in the form of little like pauses, text boxes. It's not so forced that you have to do exactly this and there are arrows pointing everywhere. But yeah, as you play the game, you're in the very first map, you're taught quite a bit of those features. It can be easy for anybody who has played a couple of strategy games, but players who are interested in our game because of the art style, the world, for example. There are some players who have never really touched a strategy game, or they were expecting more of an RPG, stuff like this. It can be overwhelming for them. So we spread out the task to a couple more, I would say, contextual situations. When you encounter this the first time, whenever it happens, it hints at, hey, you can do this and this with this feature, and this is spread out across the first couple of maps, I would say. So that's what we are doing. There is also an in-game manual. You have to pull it up actively. You see in the bottom, in the top left in the current stream, which is going here on the gameplay, there's this little 7 pulsating in this book icon. So there are new chapters added to your in-game manual when you encounter those features. So you can always read up on those. That's another way to do it. But yeah, I think that's what we have. Is it enough? Is it good? I think it works, but we can surely improve upon this.
I think that's a statement on game design and art in general. There's a concept in, I think, VFX that I've heard that art is never finished. It's simply released, right? Like there's always you could continue to work on it. You could continue to grind. You can continue to do more and polish and do all of these things. But at the end of the day, it needs to eventually make its way out. So of course, there's always room for better, but that doesn't take away that this is good the way that it is, right?
You need to learn to let go.
Mm-hmm. I think that's an important lesson for a lot of people to learn, right? And we talk about the indie spirit, and sometimes you get the arteurs who's in there and they're like, this is my masterpiece. And now they're working on it for like 12 years. And then you hear those success stories where they're like, wow, we worked on this for 12 years alone and it's incredible. But not every single one of those hits the same way. Learning to let go is important. Before someone even really picks up this game and plays it, before you get hands-on with it, the thing to me that stands out most, and we're seeing the footage, we see it behind Hayato and Marcus in the room, the art style jumps off the page. It jumps off the screen. It's right in front of you. It's so stunning. It's unique. It stands out. I want to pull in a quote here from Rock Paper Shotgun that says, this is the most gorgeous auto battler they've ever played. And then they went on to say how auto battler doesn't do it justice. It's way more than that. But at what point in the development process did you decide that the art style needed to stand out like this? Or was it not even a conscious decision? You just got to the end and you're like, wow, the art style that we created seems to really be resonating. What was the thought process like?
So right from the get-go, we wanted to make a game. This was one of our mission statements, like to show that strategy games can be beautiful. I know that there are a lot of beautiful strategy games, but this was one of our goals, to make it really stand out and beautiful. This is one of our key expertises at Chimera. We have a really strong art team, a really good art director, so this was great to do. We were also big fans of Alphonse Mucha and this Art Nouveau style you mentioned already. So we wanted to do a game in this particular style a while ago, and we did a prototype for it called Tarot. It never went off really, like we never did anything with this, but we always kept it in the back of our heads that this kind of style would be really cool for a game. And yeah, this is when we decided very early on, this is the direction we could explore, and did so for in the very early pre-production, even before this, in a demo, like we built a prototype basically. And there we already developed part of this art style and showed that this could work very well in the game. Biggest challenge was the main draw, I think, of the art style at first glance is our 2D art. Like this is what, we have on our key artworks and so on. But we really tried to bring this into the 3D representation of the game world as well, so it does not stick out like a sore thumb. So yeah, this was a big challenge, but in the end, we are super happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, I think we've already seen so many comments that have come through about the art, the visuals, people that are seeing it at first glance. Serge says, cool looking game. Like it pulls you in. So I think whatever the approach was the right one. Now, this game is set firmly in the fantasy genre in terms of storytelling and lore, which is, when done right, when done well, is my favorite genre. What do you guys think is the key to telling a standout story in the fantasy genre? It's a genre that's existed for as long as humanity can remember. What makes a story stand out here?
Interesting question. What has worked for us for this project and in the past is a certain approach. And this is not like we have the story idea per se, but it's more like we have a very strong foundation. We have this setting the lore behind it. So this is how we started here. For a long time, we really developed a very richly detailed canvas, like the entire world, the creation mythos, how those races came into being, how they developed over time, how the worlds, broke apart and all those things. This is not because we want to tell our players all of those details. This is just as a foundation so we know exactly what's going on in this world. And then we develop the actual characters, their factions, their struggles, their stories within this world. And it plays thousands of years in the future from the creation mythos point of view. But when we develop those characters, then everybody can act according to the internal logic of this world. And I think this makes a huge difference. And also we treat our characters with, how you can say this, not with respect, but they're actually grown adults and intelligent. So they know what's going on in the world. They don't ask stupid questions every year, like, oh, how does this work? Oh, what an interesting location. Like, they know how this world ticks. And this makes it just much more believable. And yeah.
It's interesting when creating a world. They talk about world building. Mine connects to like a Dungeons and Dragons, like a DM kind of setup here, right? Where you have to do so much work to establish the world it's not like, hey, here's all my work, it's now in the game. It just kind of exists in the background. So it's so much heavy lift that goes into a thing just to inform the way that the characters interact with that world, which is super interesting. And sometimes underappreciated. So I think you guys got it right. I think you created a very robust world as a result as well. And I do want to, this is one of my favorite topics to speak about, because we can talk about anything and everything that goes right in a development process. But what I think brings game devs together is the challenges and the struggles, the difficulties along the way. So what were some of the challenges that stood out as you guys were trying to bring Songs of Silence to market? Where did you guys have to circle back and get really creative with solutions?
I mean, the biggest challenge was that a lot of this game, was existing on paper, and this was kind of our vision, and we believed in it, but it was completely unproven. Like I said, we could not rely on like this is just like this game over there, and we changed a couple of things. The whole world setup, the setting we talked about, like all of this is kind of unique. So the biggest challenge for us was like obviously just figuring out is this something somebody will be interested in, and will it actually work in the end? We spent a ton of time, for example, developing an early prototype of the game, approaching publishers very early, years ago. And then we always got this feedback, yeah, this kind of looks nice, but it plays very shallow, guys. That's not really interesting. I was like, okay, but we tried to get a rough prototype working with a small fraction of the features. And you have to imagine, you have to believe us, there will be more eventually, and it was super difficult. So this thing, seeing it all come together and interact with one another, took years. And this, I think, for a complex game like this, the key challenge is really the game just does not work until nearly everything is in place. And this was super difficult. So we got feedback from the community very late, because we could only ask players for feedback very late. And this is like the biggest struggle. There were a lot of things along the way about the movement system, the battles, all of those things where we needed to iterate and take a step back and really think about it. Is this going in the right direction? Do we need to change? But I think overall, this is the key thing. Every individual thing, like the battles, founding a city, moving an army, ambushing somebody in a forest, like all of this stuff really only works in conjunction. And yeah, this is where we really struggled.
I think everybody kind of has those unique stories to tell. And Hayato and Marcus, I want to give you guys an opportunity as well. Where did you guys feel like this was a difficult step in the journey?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, for me, it's like we brought up so many new technologies that we wanted to use. We wanted to do some multiplayer game, which I've never worked on before. We wanted to have some cool battle AI. We wanted to have some cool strategy AI. By the way, before this project never worked on AI. So that was like a lot of learning, and it was so interesting to learn all these new technologies and ways of doing things and thinking about how these units in the game can interact also with together.
Yeah, I think it was a very typical Chimera game in a way that, hey, let's do something very new again for us. Where a lot of our games were always something quite new. It's something just we kind of fall into, I guess, never really doing sequels, and it's always something very new. So there was a big initial time. We just built up things, right? All those different systems. And it just took a while before the things came together and you could really play. And there was a little bit of stress on us, like, oh, we've developed now for a year and, the basics coming together, but this still does not work. This is still not here. And yeah, it was just quite a challenge to get everything to a state where we could really feel the game and play it. It was not easy to do a quick, gameplay prototype in a shorter while because we needed to build all of those systems.
Yeah, I admire the team's dedication to trying something new. I think that's inherently scary. That's inherently overwhelming. It requires learning and growth where it could be very easy to be like, hey, you know what we do really well? Let's do that again. But again, congratulations to you guys, because I think the risks and the attempts that you guys took here have paid off in such a creative and unique individual game here. I know that the chat is loading up with some questions. I want to try to bring them in as much as we can. I'm seeing a couple of opportunities where we can combine them with the topics we're already planning to talk about. So if you guys are asking questions or you're curious about things, please ask them, let us know, and we'll try to find a moment. If there are things that are super game specific that maybe this isn't the perfect opportunity to talk about them, we are putting a link to the Discord for the game in the chat here. So you guys can circle back and ask those questions to the team, to the community, and maybe get some answers there as well. It's always a good opportunity to bring everyone together. Coming off of the conversation about challenges here, I think so much of what makes good game design and makes a game run well is creative solutions to those challenges. And therefore, we end up with really robust, well thought out systems here. So I want to give you guys the opportunity here, because like I said at the top of the show, you guys came in equipped. You said, we want to showcase some of the inner workings, the systems, all of those types of things. So I want to hand the reins over now to you, Marcus, as I know you want to kind of walk everybody through the animation, VFX, and battle editor pipeline thing. So Unity community, if you guys want to learn a little bit of something here from a team that's doing very creative and unique things, take a moment and make sure that you're paying attention right now. Marcus, I'm here. Yeah. Don't worry. I'm not leaving you alone. You're not alone in this, but the floor is yours to kind of talk about this at will.
Sure, thank you. So time to talk a little bit about development, right? That's the interesting part. You don't need to bring my screen up immediately because, just doing a quick introduction and then we'll just see Unity, then we're all familiar and comfy again. So yeah, let me take you on a tour, show you a little bit how we dealt with our character animation setup in Unity. That's always a challenging thing. And then also a little bit, how did we do connecting VFX to those animations, connecting audio, and then in the end, how did we quickly then test what we were setting up and seeing how it actually works in the game. Oh, we have Unity already there. Great. So what was the biggest challenge there with the characters? So we hinted already a little bit at it. We're very ambitious. So if it would be just what Alex wanted, I guess he would have need to create 200 characters, 200 units, right? In the end, we settled down like we planned for. Why is the screen black? Oh, interesting.
You just got to log back in. Casual. Feel free to dox yourself. Like, give us the password. Say it out loud as you type it in. No problem.
Yeah, sure. Of course.
You're not typing.
Right. Okay.
So maybe just to jump in here while Marcus is logging in, obviously we wanted to have real-time battles with a lot of action going on. So we didn't know exactly how many combatants we could have on the battlefield. So this was something which was in flux for quite a while. Yeah, and Marcus can surely explain a bit more about this.
So in the end, still what we planned, we're way above 100 characters. So that's a lot. Our art team isn't huge. We needed to do all of those animations. So we needed to find some ways to get them in, all of those animation sets for those characters. So one thing that we thought about early on, there are a lot of extravagant characters with tons of limbs and stuff, but there are also a lot of humanoids, bipeds. So, maybe we could do some retargeting. That means, units share their animations. So, hey, for the humans and so on, we could share the animation that allows us to create a bigger set of animations, and then they all share them. But it comes with some drawbacks. For example, if you retarget in Unity, of course, there's this kind of a small performance impact on it. And since we have dozens and hundreds of individual characters on the screen, it just multiplies a lot. And there's another big factor, more creative factor, is that, if you have a light infantry guy and then you have a huge big knight next to him, it's not great when they both walk the same and attack the same and defend the same. They should feel different. Every good strategy game that we have in mind, all those cool characters feel very different and so on. So we said, nah, we don't really want to share all of the animations because of that. But then still this leaves us with, we still need to do all of those animations. So we then said, okay, we need to limit the animation set per character a lot, right? We can't do a lot of animation per character. So we need to find clever ways how we can make the most out of only a few animations.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we did then. So let me introduce you to this guy here. That's our very basic infantry dude. That's from the 1000 Kingdom faction. It's the Hearthstone. And let's just check out what he got. So I'm just starting Unity. You can see my setup here. Down here we have the animator window. That's the animator state tree. You can see everything that you can do. Are we on the right layer? Yeah, perfect. And here you can see all the triggers that we have to trigger the animation. So now we can see he's just idling. That's what you always need in every game. Of course, the character can run. For this, we did just a simple blend tree. So you can go from very slow, like slowly walking forward, but then go up to a run, to a march, which is at 1, and they can run. And with the blend tree, everything in between works, right? So we need 2 animations, and they can do that. But in our game, they also need to go backwards because we have a momentum system. So we didn't want that, units clash into each other, and then they're just standing there banging at each other. That's kind of boring. So sometimes, based on also our morale system, one unit takes over a little bit and they're pushing the others back. So they need to go forward. They also need to go backward. So we also have backward movement, or let's just, put in -1. And this is just the march played backwards. So again, we don't need a new animation, just a little trick.
Okay.
It just gets played backwards.
It works too. Like,
yeah,
I feel like if you watch a human walk forwards and then rewind it, it doesn't look like they're walking backwards, but this works.
This works. And you also always have to see, we are quite close now at this character in the game. We are usually further out. So here you even might see some things that you don't really notice in the game, especially when there are dozens of hundreds of them. This is always you need to also keep in mind. What you see now staring at an individual, you just don't see as a player. So what else can they do? So when they are standing in battle, this idle pose doesn't work. This is not a guy in battle. So they have an in combat stance. We activate with the bull. And now, this is a proper battle stance. And from there, they can attack, they can defend, and they can get hit. Perfect. So, and this is already the basics. I mean, I can just kill the guy also.
There's a death button. I like it.
So what else? We wanted, so if a huge creature is coming and smashing into infantry guys like them, they need to be pushed away. So one thing is, of course, they are moved by our movement system, but they need to react to it. So what we did here is, again, we recycled the get hit animation. So down here I have a pushback start trigger. If I trigger that, it's kind of playing the first half of the get hit animation. Just imagining this guy is pushed away, 10 meters and so on, and they stay at the pose but being pushed quickly. And in the end, we trigger that and they're back. So again, using the same animation again, just splitting it up a little bit, and we get more out of it. The next thing then is, as I said, we have the momentum system. So, oh no, they need to attack, defend, and get hit while moving. Like usually you could say, okay, then we need extra animation. We need a move attack, defend while moving, and so on. But for this, it's very handy in Mechanim and Unity. You can have layers where you have like blends or override animations. And we just have a movement overlay layer where we use a lot of animations again. But for this animations, we are using an avatar mask, which is a really cool feature. So you have an avatar mask. You can see it here now on the right, where you can import your avatar, and then you have all the bones of the character, and you can just select the ones you want to have for this override, basically. So basically mask them in. And well, for movement, you need the lower part of your body, so from the hip downwards. And while you're moving with your upper body, with the torso, you can do all the rest. So in here, we mark all of the upper body bones. And this then means, if I go back here and we have a look at the little guy, so now move along. But now, while we're moving, the upper body can also attack. Great. And they can also defend or get hit while moving. So feels completely different, but it's all based on the few animations we had at the beginning. And that's really nice. Also, what's really cool is when you make them run. So this, could be used for running somewhere, but also for fleeing. But if they actually charge towards the enemy, we also just switch on in combat. And now, they're putting the weapon to the front, and it really looks like attacking.
Yeah, it seems like you guys laid the foundation, and then I've just kind of mixed and matched and pulled in different pieces in different combinations to get everything that you need. We've got people calling out, "This is cool. This is awesome." They love the reset bool. Like this looks really great. Sorry to interrupt your flow. I love learning about these types of things.
No, great. Just reach out when you want. So, oh no, I actually want to do things. So when we go to the next character, of course, let's kill this one off again.
Good.
Goodbye. He has done his job. And now let's check this off for another character with some new challenges. So let's bring in the archer. This is a ranged unit. So first of all, our ranged units, when they are in melee, we want it also to be able to, that they can do melee attacks, because nothing looks more stupid than, our archer shooting point blank at enemies just in front of them. So the challenge, they have one extra animation. We can also have a look at the animator setup here. You can here hopefully see again, we have, like in here is always the base behavior, idle, command idle, all the movement, and out here are the combat interactions. And here next to the attack, we have attack ranged. If we now look at the triggers, they're completely the same, actually. So there is no attack range trigger. Because another thing is, hey, let the animator that you need anyways be clever and don't create additional work for the programmers.
Good teamwork.
So what are we doing here? So this guy is in idle, and if I now trigger attack, they will shoot. Because, they are in idle, they're comfortable, enemy is 100 meters away. From there, they can just shoot. By the way, you can see here an arrow appearing and then disappearing, because once we shoot the arrow, the projectile system is taking over. So, the actual arrow in there is gone, and then the projectile arrow is fired at the enemy. And the interesting thing is now, if they are in melee, so the in-combat bool is kind of our in-melee bool, and they will switch to a sword, actually. And if you now trigger attack, they will do their melee attack. And this is just done easily by all of those transitions. You can always put in a lot of conditions. So a condition here is, well, if in combat is true, then you do your attack. On the other one, if in combat is false, then they do the ranged attack. Quite easy. But with a very limited set also of triggers, you can achieve different things.
Yeah, and what's very funny, like you directly see when the programmer messes up. For example, if Archer goes into melee and starts to shoot with his bow, then it's most likely on me.
What is a really great condition here is dead false. You can see a lot of things go from the any state, which is very handy, but it creates the problem if you set somebody to be dead, but then if you trigger like attack or defend, you might just raise some zombies, right? If just from the system a trigger comes too late, always quite a problem. So we made sure, yeah, you can attack, you can defend and everything, but only if you're not dead, please. So you learn from your mistakes and then you include this just to be safe from those errors, because the game sometimes just does things you don't expect.
Fuzzy Smurf in the Twitch chat says, I've had that happen before, so definitely a relatable experience.
So this is how we made sure that guys don't come back from the dead again. And then again, also for this character, obviously, they can walk, they can attack while walking, do all their stuff. This guy's quite interesting. So defend is a very abstract way of thinking. Like they defend, some do block with their shield. When this guy defends, he's just making a jump back. So they are more nimble, they want to evade. They're also not great melee fighters, right? They're trying to evade. That's better for them. Then, yeah, I would say he has also done his job. Let's kill him off. And let's bring up the next animation challenge. Something completely different. Now suddenly it's not a biped anymore, but it's one of our creatures. That's the boar ape. It's quite obvious why it's called the boar ape.
It's a good name. It's fitting.
It's a very descriptive name. Like as gamer, you will know this creature then as Smarter, because now the lore comes in, give it a proper name. But internally, you pick something obvious that sticks to everybody. Right? That's the boar ape. So here, some new challenges. First of all, those creatures are quite fast. So small change here to our normal setup is that on movement overlay, you can see he has an attack charge. So again, quite simple. If I just simply attack, they do this jump bite on place. But if I bring them up to charge speed, which is 2, just an abstract value, and if I now trigger the attack, then they're actually doing a charge attack. So yeah, sometimes we couldn't just help ourselves and sneak in some more animations at least, because if this guy jumps into an enemy group, should do something different. But what is a problem here definitely is, well, suddenly it's a quadruped, right? So within human, it's quite easy. While you're walking, the upper body can do a lot of different things. For this guy doesn't work. When he moves, when it walks, right? Most of the body is involved. So here, it's a little bit more on the animator to be clever. So if we just make him stop again, if you look at the animation, it's very jumpy, right? The attack is very jumpy. So here the setup is a little bit different. When they walk, there isn't so much of a partial override happening, but we still keep the full body animation. But just imagine now he's moving some, and if he now attacks, because it's so jumpy, it still is kind of fine, that they do it while moving. And then the same is for Get Hit. I mean, it is still a little bit stable on the ground, but overall, we try to make those animations for a lot of quadrupeds more so that it works better while they're moving, because you can't really change that much. But even so, there is a little bit of blending. So for example, if I deactivate in combat again, so you see without in combat, he's just looking more forward, and with the head, and we still, for example, in combat, we just changed the head. So now he's opening its maw and growling a little bit there. So there's still some things you can do with the additional layer and mixing up those animations, make it more interesting. So usually I would kill off this guy, but I will actually use it now to show you a little bit how we connect the VFX and also audio to those animations. Like when I played those animations, you've already seen, a lot of animations create a little bit of effects. There's always a defend effect. It's always the same. So the effects are obviously prefab, so that we can, change them globally and reuse them for all those characters, or the bleeding when being hit. And that's done quite easily. So those VFX we just put into the characters where we need them. Like usually, like you can put them under some bones, obviously, if they need to go with the bones. But sometimes we just put them under the root bone, like we just want to fix them in some relative position to the character. And then we just have some really cool internal scripts that help us connect a lot of things to animations. So here's our animation event handler on the right, on the inspector, and you can already see, there's this thing. You can control game objects, you can control particle systems, control animators, and so on. And here, just all the effects that you've seen are linked in here. So hey, here's the attack effect, the defend effect, some hits, and so on, the push. And once they're linked in here, I can go to any animation. So let's see, let's bring up the attack, for example. Again, in the import view, like usually where you set up your animations, you also have down here the events. And you can already see, this might be a little bit small, there are a lot of events in there. And depending on the character, sometimes it's quite simple, but sometimes quite complex. So here, for example, here's an audio event playing. So that's then the function that's calling, actually in this case, our audio event handler, where I can just define audio events. And here it makes it shout. And then there's a ton of other triggers here. This is a lot to do with some trampling down grass here. The attack effects is played at a certain position. So you always just go somewhere in animation and you think like, yeah, here's opening its mouth. So there I put the shout, audio-wise. And then here it might be a little bit small here. And then back here, he's closing its mouth. So here exactly, then I want to trigger an particle effect, the attack FX, and then it's there. So that's really super direct, because when you then play it here on the left, you can immediately see it. So you put it in there, you apply, right? And then here you just play the animation, you will see it. If you would have audio, you could even hear some of the sounds. And then quickly, just for completion, because I showed here that's our animation event handler. Another cool thing, I can only recommend doing something like this, is our audio event handler. So again, I make just some events, I name them so that I can call them via the events. And here again, you have tag, and then I just assign some of our audio assets so that they do cool audio in parallel to the animations. Yeah, so now you've seen how we set up those characters. How we do a lot out of only a handful of animations. Now they have some effects have been attached, some audio, but now of course they're just standing there in a gray box, right? That's not really helpful. Like, will this really work in the game? So we need to do something there. So you know what? Let's also in the end kill him off. Just
fitting end off to Valhalla. Probably mixing lore a little bit, but it's fine.
Now let's switch the scene. So what we had quite early in the game, and that was super helpful, is, so we have a battle scene that's not very exciting. It's just black right now. But if I start, so this is the same battle as you will have in the game, but as a developer, if I just start the battle scene, it will bring up the battle, but it will also bring up a developer UI and a lot of additional functionalities, so that we, as developer, can just set up a quick battle, like use all of those units that we've shown before and all of the other. Let's make this also full screen.
Yeah, I think that also helped, like different departments, like for example, game design could jump into the battle and try out a battle with these units. And yeah, that's great.
Absolutely. Like I test what I integrate there, can you read them? Do the animations work? Do the effects work? And the designers can just test the balancing in there. So that's super handy. So unfortunately, the UI is now a little bit small. I mean, it's just optimized for us working on a big screen, right? But here I have all the characters in the game. But let's stick to the ones we are familiar now. So 1000 Kingdom, there are the Hearths ones. Now you can already see, oh my god, they're very yellowish. I think this is a problem because I messed around with the so there's some terrain blending in the game. Here it's a little better. Okay, and this is not a streaming thing, so we have a cool feature where they blend into the terrain because I messed with it for the other scene. Here they look a little bit too much blended into the terrain, but they're still visible. What else did we have? We had the archers. Let's bring them in. I guess everybody will, yeah, just green troops. So they are now in a stealth mission. They are better. The stamina are better hidden than before. Let's bring up our boar apes. Just imagine that in the game, they won't be so much in color with the terrain. Right over here, you can see, so we saw one boar ape, but what we also did is quite common, like we have variants, like we have small boar apes, and we have a medium-sized boar ape, and the big one. You can also see the difference now, the ones that are messed up and the others that don't look that greenish tinted. So again, here for the boar apes, all it's the same character, we just scale them, we adjust a little bit their movement speed so that it still fits. You know, we did, hey, some extra textures for them, but it's the same creature. So you kind of make 3 out of 1. That's just something that really helps you, but also the player, because they have more units, but it's not triple the amount work for us. And now let's just, up here have lots of controls. So let's just bring up the battle in stealth mode and have a look how everything now works in battle. That we've just seen before and set up before. Of course, here you can already see how things change, because here things get quite chaotic and we also get totally vanquished by so many enemies. So, you know, that's the thing. Before you look at a lot of details and then suddenly in here you see, oh, I need to make things more obvious and bigger because there's so much chaos.
Yeah.
Let's actually, best thing in this editor, Control-C, Control-V, to just multiply units, right? That's super handy.
Perfect.
Because otherwise you need to drag and drop all of them.
Sure.
Those little things are really helpful. So now let's take a little bit revenge. Like the big guy is giving them a fear aura. That's why, you know what? That's
okay.
That's bringing up a lot of visual clutter. Let's just bring this one back so that we can have a look a bit better. You can see the archers shooting at them, the small boar apes crushing into them. Yeah, a lot is going on. But you can also see, like, of course, with a mass battle, it's kind of okay that we have a limited animation set, because a lot is done by, you know, them being so much. And there's always a lot going on. And then in the game, as you've seen, then you can play cards and interact with it. So
yeah, always kind of constantly changing sight lines. So everything you're going to see is a little bit obscured by other units and those types of things. We've got a lot of love coming through here. Bonte on the YouTube side is saying, love the debug and custom tools. The UI builder is so handy. People calling out basically like utilizing this for your testing is a really awesome approach that people are looking to see.
I mean, just, you know, having access to all the battlegrounds that you can check contrasts and stuff is really handy. Not sure if you guys can see it, but on the left, on the right, you just have some stats for the armies, like how many HP is still left, how many units and individual fighters are left. This is something
you can
I
also
can really
click on single units and then get some on the left bottom.
Oh yeah, then
side.
you know.
Oh wow, yeah.
Bring up some life stats so it helps for debugging. You can also, like, if you can create a cool army and then save the preset so that you don't always need to drag in units again and again. So something like this is super handy, because you just set up your character, a little bit of balancing, and throw them in and just, you know, see how things evolve.
Yeah, I feel like it really.
Presentation then.
Marcus, incredible. Everybody give some love to Marcus for this. This was great. But it seems like this is a super streamlined way to kind of test and manage and bounce back and forth and balance. So hopefully the Unity community has learned something. It seems like there's been a lot of positive response. And as we kind of take a second here and transition between, because now we're going to dive into what the NPC AI looks like with Hayato, the ceremonial passing of the keyboard, as we saw. We do have a number of questions that have been coming through. If you guys have questions that align with the topics, we'll try and ask them in those moments, but we do have a moment set aside towards towards the end of the stream, where we'll ask some more general questions as well. And of course, if you cannot find those opportunities, there's always access to the Discord. So as to just maybe put a little button on this here, Jane Berg on the YouTube side asked, were there any built-in Unity shaders or tools used for the lighting and texturing, or was that largely a custom experience?
So shader-wise, we really only use own shaders. Quite the custom lighting also. To be honest, like this was also cool for this game. I really went into like creating shaders with shader editors in this game. So at the beginning, you know, I mean, also we have this specific look, so we just didn't want like normal PBR shading didn't really work. We wanted something more artistic. So yeah, we just made our own kind of default lighting, really using a lot of custom Unity nodes to get the feel. And also so lighting is also done via a ramp, so that you don't have a smooth lighting over the characters, but it's more pronounced. So we really wanted to have full control. So not really, we didn't use any of the standard shaders then in the end.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you for providing that clarity. And now another passing of the torch, so to speak. The stage is set for you, Hayato. Take over. Show us about the NPC AI here. I know there's been a number of questions coming through, so people are curious.
All right, let's get going. So to start with, I will show you a little bit how the strategy looks like, the strategy layer of our game. So right now you see the capital of the player. That's me, the blue guy. And we have an army inside, right? And this army can move to different places. Of course, it cannot move into mountains, and of course, it shouldn't like go through rivers. But for example, if I want to move the army up there to this bridge location, I can go there. But now you see, like, my movement meter is split in half, and what this means is basically I can move these 8 movement points, and then I need to stop. What this means is like when I want to go to this location, I need to stop somewhere in the open, and if you see the sneaky army down here, right? This might then attack me and ambush me. So what the AI needs to understand is like what is good positioning in the open. And how we solve this is we use a technique called influence maps. And to explain what influence maps are, I'm looking maybe from the perspective of this red AI army, right? That wants to take my capital, which I of course don't want. And I make a little analogy to explain how this works. Think of my capital as like a very delicious slice of pizza, right? And it has a very nice smell that goes and evaporates over this bridge and then comes to my little red AI army there, right? So what the AI army needs now to do is just follow the direction where the smell gets stronger and stronger. And I can also show you the influence map for that. I'm just switching on the gizmos, right?
Oh.
Oh, yes.
So visual. I love it.
Yes. You can see, like, in the center, there's my capital, which has the strongest smell, of course. There's where the pizza and the cheese is. And then it gets, like, weaker and weaker, right? Until at some point it reaches the noses of my AI army, and then they just need to go in the right direction. Yes, but we can also do other very cool things with these influence maps. For example, you can see here, there's like these 3 neutral armies, right? And they are dangerous. Like one spot I don't want to be in is stand in the middle of these 3 armies, obviously, because then they can attack me from all sides. And for this, we created like another influence map, which I hopefully can find. Here it is. And let's switch on the gizmos. So what now happens is each of these armies, of these neutral armies, is giving like some very bad odor, like some very bad smell, right? And here in the center, all this smell adds up to this area, which says like, hey, this is the place where you don't want to be because it's very stinky here, like, right? So if I want to go, like, if this AI army wants to go to my capital, maybe they should go maybe a little bit around and not through that location. Yes.
This is very cool. I love a good analogy. Thank you for using pizza. Scent, but like the concept of scent really paints a picture. And I also like that not only are people learning how the inner workings work here and maybe using that for their own projects, but this is also kind of showing how you want to approach this game strategically as a player, which I think is really cool.
Yes, it also gives some insight. And I think one of the design requirements was like the AI should try to be as human-like as possible. So we tried also to keep this promise. I hope we achieved it a little bit. But yeah, we're working on it. And I think we can maybe even now end some turns and see what happens. Or maybe let's look at a different one. Give me one moment. Here, this is the interest, right? The interest is basically, we created all these different maps, and these interests combine some of these maps to see like, hey, for example, let's switch this off. This neutral army, that's actually currently very uninteresting. When we defeat it, I just get a little bit of gold and not really much XP. So maybe it doesn't really make sense to attack it. But this bridge location, that gives me a lot. And you can see also this huge debug view that we have there, what all of the different things that this bridge location gives you. And I hope I can zoom in a little bit to show a little bit of what we're doing.
Yeah.
So we have these different functions like multiplications and additions, right? And one thing we do add up for this location is first of all is like this conquerable location. It's basically, that's a location that we can conquer. This means also like the army inside is not stronger than us. And we give some bonus to that location because, of course, if you conquer a location, you get more income and so on, right? So it's in general positive to take locations, but also there's an army inside, and you see this here in this part, and this army has some benefits. Like if I kill that army, I get money, and I also get experience. So it's also, there's an interest of attacking this army inside. And finally, there are these actions that don't exist in that location, sadly. But if there would be actions, you could, for example, play cards, right? So if you take a location, it gives you access to new actions like playing cards and recruiting new units, which is, of course, also an incentive for the AI to do. Yes, I think, wait, let me go. Okay, now I'm out there. And now let's, like right now we have like these pizza slices here with 100, right? But there's no smell yet, right? I'm missing the smell, so let's add some smell to the mix. That should be here. And now let's propagate the smell. And now you can see like the smell evaporated from my location with 100. And one very interesting thing that happened is you see this neutral army that I showed you earlier, right? And this one, it was super uninteresting. Now it has 97 on it. And what happened is basically the smell of this location, which is very interesting, went through that neutral army and then goes to my army, right? So what the AI can now do is to understand like, hey, this is maybe a nice side objective I can take while going to my location. And I think you all have waited for it. Let's do it. Let's let the army run. And hopefully, if everything goes right, it will go and attack that neutral army, because that's a nice side objective to take. And then in the next turn, it will go to that location.
And that's the AI. We don't do anything, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's them making those decisions based on like it's probabilities, it looks like, right? Like the levels of interest and a number of different things pulling at it. It's very cool to see how visual this is, and you guys having the tools to be able to break down and showcase what is contributing to every single step along the way here. This is a very cool tool.
Yeah, this was also kind of required because, of course, we had tons of bugs in the AI, and to understand like why is an AI army going there, right, is very important. Also understanding like what is the decision for going there. And one big problem, for example, we had, especially in the early days of AI development, is that we added more and more information to the AI. So now the AI knows like, hey, down there you can bring back loot, and the loot you can see like they have like these little loot wagons. So the AI just wants to, it's packed with gold, right? And of course, if I, as a player, come and attack the AI, that wouldn't be very good for the AI. So it might want to go back to the hometown to bring back the loot. But also other things like, hey, you can recruit new units, or if you are damaged right now, you want maybe to heal up. we added more and more and more information to that AI. And what in the end happened is that the AI stopped to do decisive actions. It was like, oh, I want to do this, I want to go there, and maybe I want also to bring back some loot down there, right? So it was like not doing like a straight thing that makes sense, but more it's like torn apart between all these things we gave it. So one thing we added later on was, and you can see it maybe a little bit on the right, just zoom in there, that we have in the AI army, we do some pre-calculation on the state of the army, what doesn't make currently sense for the army. For example, right now, for the AI army, it makes sense maybe to take some more locations.
Oh, whoa.
Right now, because of course the AI was so smart that it took battles that like it didn't lose any units, so healing is 0, it doesn't need to heal. But because I said like, hey, it has a lot of loot wagons, right? Caching in the loot wagons is now very important for the AI.
Mm-hmm.
So we added this high level information, and maybe I can show it on you and to you on the map.
Yeah.
But I have to warn you, this map is a little bit more convoluted. We have a lot of different stuff on the map also.
Sure. So that's almost like the AI's motivation. What's their objective in that moment? That's so cool.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's show you the final map, and this also like. Wait. Maybe I messed something up there. Let me see. Yes. No, sorry, I had to refresh the data. Sometimes this happens.
Understood.
So what you can now see is like a new map with all these different new informations, and there's like also I showed you the smell, right? The bad smell of these neutral armies. All of this information is now baked in this huge thing, and it gets really hard to read at some point, right? With all these different things in there. But as you can also see, like for example, going here back to the capital, that's now very interesting. Because I can get some cash and some loot, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even though I see like actually the AI just wants to go to this location. Don't ask me why it's currently want to go there, but that's sometimes how it is.
Hey, they've got a mind of their own. You gave it to them, so
a mind of their own. So it's not predicted, but not even for me sometimes.
Yeah.
They could probably cash in the loot there as well. So. Smart choice.
Yeah, they're smart. They can.
They're planning 3 turns ahead.
They're planning 3 turns ahead. Exactly.
Honestly, very impressive.
Yeah. We had a bunch of issues, of course, with the AI. Like there were some performance problems, especially because if you zoom out of this thing, you can imagine like doing all these calculations.
Whoa.
Each cell needs to be filled with information. Like each army that's close, like in movement range of my AI army, needs to spread the good or bad smell, depends, right? And that costs us a lot of headache, like on how to optimize it. And what we first did is there's the Unity burst job system, and we went from our multiplayer simulation. We use a so-called quantum framework, which is our multiplayer simulation. And it's like really separated from Unity. They want to be like completely separated, but what we did is we attached Unity back to it to go back to Unity and run these burst jobs, which are very performant. And I think this gave us already like 6 times of a speed improvement, which is already great. We did some improvement on the algorithm, like on how this smell is evaporated. This also gave us some performance boost. And then we thought like, okay, this is it. We're good enough. And we clapped ourselves on the shoulder, and it's like, nice, right? And very, very late in development, this was quite late, QA came to us and it's like, no, that's not working out, especially in multiplayer. When you press the end turn button, it takes like forever. And the problem is in this multiplayer simulation, if you take too long, then it might happen that players with weaker PCs drop out. And of course, that's something you don't want in a multiplayer game. Mm-hmm. So we had to add some new thing to the mix. It's basically, and we can maybe show it here. This is, oh, where does this go? No, here? Yes. Let's make it a little bit bigger that you can see it. This is the behavior tree of the behavior tree tool of this quantum multiplayer framework. And we use this to also visualize like what's the AI currently calculating and so on. And if we zoom in a little bit here, I hope it's readable. Maybe I can even zoom even more into it. Perfect. We can see that we added to each of these calculations, like each of these nodes is like calculating a set of maps for the AI. and we added time to that. So basically we made a build, ran the build and hooked up the profiler to see like, hey, how long does the calculation of these kinds of map take? And then we added the time in here to the node to see like, okay, this takes like 10 milliseconds and this takes 21. And then each node requests actually the time. It says like, hey, I want now like to run, like, let's say it has 5 maps. I want now to run like 50 milliseconds of time. Can I have that? And then the system says like either yes or no. And once we're done, we were like, oh, this is great. Let's hit the turn end button. We hit up the turn end button. And first of all, nothing happened for like, I think 2 seconds, because the system was like, oh no, you cannot have that amount of time. It's crazy. So what we did is we changed it a little bit up so that in the beginning of the turn, we give more time to the AI so it can do the first calculation of the first army. So the first army gets moving, right? And during the animation of the first army that's running around, we calculate already in the background the second army. And so far, we are fast enough with the AI calculation, so the animations take longer. So the animations are basically the thing that the player is waiting for. But I've even heard like some developers want to improve the animations. So let's see. There's always a race going on if you can be performant enough.
Yeah. A little bit of balance there. I think this is incredible. This is so cool. And a number of people calling it out. Alex on YouTube is saying their tooling across the board is amazing. And I think we've seen it in a handful of creator spotlights, but creating custom tools that work for you, not just in the creation phase, but in the testing and the balancing and the reiteration phases seems to be a key to success in a big way. So thank you guys for showing us all of the tools that you guys have created and used to create Songs of Silence. It's and thank you. I really want to say thank you for using pizza as an example, because it just allows you to lock in and really focus. Those were very, very cool things. We have pulled a little bit of questions throughout the stream. We can probably spend the next 5-10 minutes here just going through some of the general questions. If we run into anything that you guys are like, oh, we don't really have an answer, that's totally okay. Don't feel like you need to have the answers to every question. You are a small representative of a slightly larger team. So we totally understand that. Magic on the YouTube side asked a question that we felt had to be asked on a stream. It only makes sense, but why did Chimera choose Unity to create Songs of Silence? What advantages did Unity provide to realize those ideas? I mean, they asked it. I want to be completely clear. Magic is not a plant. We did not get them to ask it. None of that stuff.
I mean, one side of it is obviously we are also used to it, right? We know it. I mean, that's not to diminish what Unity does. It's really a great engine, but obviously we've done a lot of games in Unity, so sometimes it's very good to stick something that you're familiar with. Also, we have created a lot of tools. Like some of those tools are made for Songs of Silence, but other tools we've done for games before. So, you know, bringing them along is just great to do. So that's definitely a big part. But then in general, I really like the Unity editor. I like that it, you know, at the start, a lot of things is empty. It's like this blank canvas, and you can go in any direction with it. Like, you know, any crazy game, 2D, 3D, any genre, you can bring it into anywhere you want, and that's really cool thing. It's very flexible for me.
Yeah, and again, I know that we are Team Unity, but I say it on these streams all the time. Use the tool that's right for you. If people come in, and we talked about it, Team Chimera and myself, getting in there ahead of time, being like, oh, well, do we not talk about other tools? And it's like, no, like creating good games requires multiple tools sometimes. Sometimes Unity is the right fit, sometimes it's not. So what we hear oftentimes is a level of familiarity goes a really long way. And the other thing that we hear is the Unity community is usually very willing, and there's tons of resources to help people learn, develop, and grow. So a level of familiarity makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, there's always this kind of weird thing where some people, also sometimes on the publisher, I think, but if you use this engine, you know, I don't want to name names, it will just look automatically better. But no, it's your familiarity with the tools, but then also, you know, the skill level of people who did what makes the game shine, right?
Yeah.
So the engine is the tool. It helps you a lot. There are a lot of good game engines out there, but in the end, you need to wield the tool. That's what makes it happen. Right?
Yeah, I think the ceiling of each tool is realistically not set by the tool itself, but by your knowledge, your experience, and your skill levels within it. So use the tool that's right for you across the board. We've had a couple of questions come through, but one just asked now by Coper. I hope I'm saying it right on the YouTube side here. Any plans to use AI in current and future projects? I know it's a hot topic in the games industry. It's a polarizing one, and if we want to avoid it, we absolutely can. But what are kind of some of your thoughts on just the AI tooling?
I think for Songs of Silence, we didn't really use AI for the art. So like the artists are really hand drawing everything, which is great. Actually, some people said like, "Oh, this must be AI." No, there's really artists that went there and drew everything by hand. I know for other projects, like I think for the Netflix one, we might have like some backgrounds that were created with AI support or something. So it's already like there's always a discussion, I think, in Chimera, like when does it make sense? It's AI is also a tool, right? So when does it make sense and when it doesn't make sense?
Yeah, it's interesting because one of my colleagues as well, an advocate at Unity, is responsible for speaking on ethical and responsible AI use. So I know that AI is growing into a space that it hasn't previously occupied. Like AI in games has always existed, NPC AI, using automation for certain tasks and things like that. But it's definitely grown into a space in the lexicon of where people are, it's evolved, it's changed its meaning, and as a result, it's struck a chord with people in a lot of different ways. So to see it in its kind of infancy in this new phase, find a foothold of where people can use it appropriately and when, as we keep saying, it is the right tool for you guys. So it's definitely interesting. I want to bring in a question from someone who has been an early adopter. I've seen them chatting with other people as well. I want to say it, I hope I'm saying it right, but Koru Same is asking about kind of balance. Did we get it? Or we're just excited that we've recognized the name because they were saying
Awesome
how
that they are here.
Yeah, exactly, right? They've
part
been
of our community.
They've been schmoozing with some of the people who are new and picking up the demo, and they've been talking about it and asking questions. So it's great to have that level of community here. As a community manager, I respect it a lot, but they are saying it must be difficult to strike the right balance between gameplay complexity and accessibility. How do you determine whether something is seen as a good addition, which adds depth, or if it overcomplicates things and makes them too complex?
So, so far we have tried to basically, go with our intuition. Now that the game is finally out, starting from the early access phase, like we had a beta for a short time. Now that the game is really out, we can also just ask our community, and that's I think the most important thing. We want to be more, vocal with the community. Get more feedback early before we make big additions, for example, or like feature development or so. So this is really the way forward, because in the end, we want to make a game for the community, not for us, and this is why we really need to talk to everybody here. That's the only answer I can give you. There is no other way to determine if this is if a new addition, we are working on some things, is the exact right fit for the game and for the people who enjoy the game right now. So yeah, expect some updates soon and some questions, especially in the Discord.
Yeah, I think, and again, gang, we've linked the Discord in there. We'll do it again before the end of the show. So make sure to hop in there and join the team, ask those questions, find out more about balancing, because I find that there is one or two answers that we typically hear in those types of questions. How do you balance X against Y? And it's either trial and error, which can be really taxing, or a lot of times it's listening to the community. And as a community manager who's worked in the industry for a handful of years on different games, listening to your community and allowing them to inform your development and being able to cater to them is a very important skill. But it goes a step further than that as well, of knowing when the community's requests are not necessarily going to get them the result that they want. So I know it's a constant balancing act. It's not an easy one, but the studios that are willing to open up their hearts, open up their ears, and listen to what their community has to say, I find creates a really strong bond. And we're seeing it with your community members that are here and paying attention and being a part of this stream as well. So kudos to you guys for your community management approaches, because clearly you're breeding people that are very passionate, a very passionate community here. So that's awesome, awesome, awesome. I think we've kind of made it through the questions that we're able to in the time that's allotted to us. I want to extend a massive thank you to the team at Chimera Entertainment, not just Alex and Hayato, and Marcus, but I know we talked to Bernard and a number of other people on the team as well. Thank you to every one of you guys for being a part of this stream, bringing in your passion, your excitement, your experience, and connecting with myself, the team at Unity, and our community here. It's been an incredible experience. You guys have been fantastic to work with. So thank you guys very, 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 very much for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting us.
Of course.
It was a pleasure.
Be here. And fun fact, we just today had some internet stability issues in the office, you know, just today. And so before we were a little bit like, will it hold? And while we were chatting before the stream, we had one short connection issue, and we were like, will it hold up? But so far, not one single error, like not one disconnect. So that's good. I just remembered, I didn't think about it anymore during the stream, but now I'm like, oh my God, the internet was stable, all is fine, right?
That is true. We were setting up to start the stream, and like maybe in a half hour before, the internet dropped out for like 3 seconds, and you guys were like, yeah, we've been having issues. We'll hope. And it did. It paid off. And if that anxiety melted away during the stream, it means that we had a good time here. And I really hope that you guys did, because I had a blast chatting with you guys and opening up the editor and showing off everything that you guys did with the level of detail. I hope that the Unity community learned something, felt inspired by something, and was able to kind of connect with the team here, which is awesome. Really, really grateful for you guys.
Thank you very much again.
Of course, we'll say goodbye to you, but don't actually leave. We'll just put you into the backstage, because I want to talk to you guys before we head off here. But anybody watching, please go and check out this game. It's on sale on Steam right now. There is a demo available. This team is very clearly very talented and passionate. They're excited about this game, and it seems like they want to see it continue to get into the hands of people that really want to engage with it. And I know I said it a moment ago, but as we wrap up the stream here, Unity community, thank you for being here. I hope that this demo, this conversation helped you learn something, helped you feel inspired by this, and helped you connect with the team, because those are the 3 things that we strive to do here in these live streams. I've said it before as well. We're doing these live streams basically every Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. We're doing a variety of things. Right now, we've had a string of creator spotlights, but that's not going to stop. We're going to change up the routine a little bit, and we're going to continue to bring different approaches to content. Hopefully you're learning things. Hopefully you're feeling inspired. Hopefully you just feel connected to each other and this community as well. Next week on the 5th of December, we will have our next stream. We are going to be showcasing the game that the team Unity created. If you'll remember, a few weeks ago, we kicked off Crazy Web Game Jam with a handful of our own team that we're here to make a game. So they're going to show off their end result of that game jam, and we're going to play a number of other excellent submissions from Crazy Web Game Jam here live on the stream. So myself and a handful of other Unity team members will be here. If you guys want to come in and pick their brain about their game that they made and all of these other things, feel free to swing by. We're going to continue this conversation of what types of content do you guys want to see? Do you want to see more showcases? Do you want to talk to more teams that are working with Unity, creating cool things? Do you want more tutorials and those types of things as well? We're going to continue those conversations. So thank you so much for being here. We hope to see you again in a future stream. Come on back anytime. We are excited to welcome anyone from the Unity community here in this stream space. A massive thank you to everybody who helped put together this show, to Team Chimera, to the support that we had within the community management team, and to our producer. This was the first stream that they helped produce, and they did a fantastic job. So I'm very, very grateful to everybody pulling this stream together. Until we see you all next time at Unity Community, my name's Jackson. Have a great rest of your day.